Happy Sunday, everybody. So, today is a little bit different, and I think maybe I'm lagging a little bit here. I'm not just sure what's going on, but um, we are going to have a talk today about life and keto and life and happy stuff and not so happy stuff. And I'm going to try and get through all of this um, without crying. So we'll see how I make out. I will see. So as some of you may know, if you know me, we started the month of May with an incredible trip to our youngest son's house to celebrate birthdays. We have 3 of them in the first week and a half. Good morning, Mom. Um, our grandson, our son, and my husband. And we had an amazing trip there. And we had an amazing trip home with a quick stop to visit my mom. Hmm. And the very next day, we got to say goodbye to our little dog, who was almost 17. So, see, I told you I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it. But you know what? That's okay. If you have tears to cry, cry them, because that's healthy as well. So, we had to say goodbye to him. And then a couple of weeks later, if there were any tears, they were tears of pride because we got to go to our grandson's graduation and we got to watch him walk across the stage, and just our hearts were bursting with pride. And it was an amazing family time together with our some of our grandkids and our daughter, one of our daughters. And then a week later, I got to go to a family funeral of a cousin that I didn't know well at all. And the fact that I missed out on that opportunity, um, that was a little bit tough. And then immediately after that, we found out that we lost a beloved family member on my husband's side of the family. Hmm. And then this past Tuesday, I found out that I lost a very special friend in a car accident who left 7 children behind. And so there's that. And I'm not sharing all of this with you. I'm not sharing all of this with you to ask for sympathy or empathy or for you to cry tears for me. I'm sharing it with you because it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you do. You cannot get away from stress and loss and anxiety and frustration and anger and happiness and pride and all of those things that are part of life. So, when you're dealing with those emotions and you're in situations where you're at a gathering for a special event like a graduation, where you have paid $100 a plate or $200 a plate or whatever it is that um, you've paid to be at a celebration like that, or you are at a not so happy celebration where there are all kinds of things at a luncheon afterwards, and you're dealing with emotions. And for a good part of my life, I dealt with my emotions by eating. And you can do that, but is it going to help your emotional state if you do? So if you step away from keto and you eat foods that are not keto because you've paid for whatever plate, or because you're at a family gathering, whether it's a funeral or a birthday party, how do you deal with it? And how do you deal with the guilt that often is associated with saying, no, no, thank you. No, I can't do that. So that's what I want to talk about today. And so I know when you have paid for something, and I want to go there first because this was probably in 5 years. And right now, actually, I am celebrating 5 years on keto. 5 years. So I know keto is not sustainable, but apparently it is for at least 5 years. So I'm not sure what not sustainable means. And I've heard some people who don't know what they're talking about say that, but um, seems to be pretty sustainable for my husband and I. So when we attended our grandson's graduation, the um, dinner that they had afterwards, pardon me, we bought tickets for, and we knew when we bought them that it was a very real possibility that we were going to get there and there was going to be little, if anything, that we could eat. And we got there and we were correct. So when we purchased those tickets, we made a conscious decision to consider it purchasing a seat, like you would if you went to a concert. And that way, if we get there and there is absolutely nothing that we can eat, we paid for the seat, not the meal. And that's a mental game that you can play with yourself, but it was helpful for us. So that's how we dealt with that. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes it is a birthday party. You're going to someone's home. If you know you're going somewhere where there's going to be little or nothing that you can eat that's keto, take a dish with you that is keto so that you can have something to eat, so that you can celebrate with food. But if you're planning the event, look for ways to celebrate without food. It doesn't have to be about food. And then there is the grief and the stress and all of the emotions that come with loss. And whether you are dealing with them at a service or dealing with it at home, you still have to deal with it. And suck it up, buttercup is not an okay way to deal with it. You have to cry your tears and have your emotions and be angry and be sad and give yourself permission to have the emotions that are there, because you can't stop it, but you can deal with it. And if you deal with it and you talk through it with someone that you love and someone that loves you, it's not going to take away the pain, but it's going to make it a little bit easier to deal with. And whether that's a spouse, a child, a parent, friends, other family members, someone who understands or doesn't understand, but is there to listen, is a huge help. but don't bury that pain. And don't choose to punish yourself because of that pain. And if you have been on keto for any length of time, and I am talking from personal experience, and I know many others who would agree with me, if you have been on keto for any length of time, that length of time, whether it's 6 months or 5 years, you've made your body a promise. And that promise is that you're not going to eat those foods that cause inflammation, and not just inflammation in your joints, but also inflammation in your brain. And that low grade inflammation that it causes, maybe it'll cause a headache, maybe it won't, but it definitely is not going to be good for your mental health. It's not going to help you deal with the emotions that you're dealing with, whether they're happy or sad. Coffee might. It is this morning. So there's that. So don't avoid people, and don't use the time that you have alone to decide that you need to go and get a pill to make things better. And I'm not saying anything against any type of medication for emotional distress if you need it. But grief is not a good reason. Not if it's normal grief. It's something that you have to work through. And if you take something to dull those emotions, and I don't care whether it's a pill out of a bottle or a drink out of a bottle, you're not dealing with those emotions. And if you don't deal with them, they're always going to be there when you come back to them. So deal with them and get on with it. And that doesn't mean suck it up. When I say get on with it, I mean cry a little bit more if you need to, or laugh a little bit more, or hug a little bit more, talk a little bit more. But while you're doing it, honor yourself the way you decided to when you first started doing keto. Honor yourself by saying no thank you to that piece of cake or the sandwich or the squares or whatever it is that is not keto. No thank you is a perfectly complete answer. And it may not be the time or place to talk about the changes that you've made in your lifestyle. But the fact that it isn't the time or place to share that doesn't mean that you shouldn't honor yourself. And isn't honoring yourself a way to respect and honor someone that you are celebrating or someone that you've lost? Because that's what they would want for you, or what they do want for you. So today, rather than being in the kitchen cooking, I decided it was time to share a little bit. And I hope that you do the same thing. Because those moments when you share are healing. Or go for a walk in the sun, or do something to help yourself get through it. And more than anything, reach out. Reach out to someone that you love. Reach out to someone that you know will be supportive. Reach out to whoever it is that you need to reach out to. But also reach in and honor yourself and the commitment that you've made to bettering your health. Because not honoring that commitment is not going to take the pain away. It's not going to make the laughter louder. It's not going to make the celebration last longer. So whether the emotions that you're dealing with are intensely good or intensely sad, deal with them and honor yourself, because the only one that suffers if you don't is you. Really, it's true. So, on that note, I am going to ask all of you to be the very best version of yourself that you can be for this next week. And celebrate the people in your life while they are in your life. And if there's something that you need to celebrate, laugh about, cry about, do that too. Deal with those emotions. Emotions are human, and we do way too much to try and get rid of them if they aren't perfect. It's never going to be perfect, and it's never going to be easy 100% of the time. But you can honor yourself almost 100% of the time. But if you stumble and you make a bit misstep, don't use that as a reason to punish yourself and give up. Take a step back. Look at the choice that you made that maybe wasn't perfectly keto. Think about how you're feeling, not emotionally necessarily, physically. How is it that you feel after you've eaten something that isn't keto? And use that information as a learning experience rather than as an opportunity to punish yourself. And step forward and go on. And I have had people ask me so many times, how often do you take a cheat day? Well, first of all, I don't ever use the word cheat because that suggests something bad. I make choices and I make them every day. And do I make choices that are not keto? How many times in 5 years? Not once. Not once. And does that mean that you should never make a choice like that? No, it means that I know me, and I know that once I make one exception, I am very possibly going to head down a slippery slope that I don't want to have to fight my way back up. Make decisions for you, not because somebody else tells you to. Have that discussion with yourself and make those nutritional decisions for yourselves. But the emotional stuff, you can't always just do that by yourself. So use your support system. That's why we have one. And if you need to reach out to someone professionally, then do that too. But don't just try and bury those emotions. It doesn't work. So that is what I'm going to leave you with today. So please, please do your very best to be the best version of you. And reach out to the people that you love, because you need it as much as they do. I will see you in 2 weeks, because next weekend I will be away celebrating Father's Day. And I am looking forward to that very much, because there are going to be days in this coming week that are going to be difficult. And that family time is going to be very special. So have an amazing week and honor you and the people around you. Do your best to be the best version of you. And I will see you 2 weeks from now. So I will say now, Happy Father's Day.